Happy Monday and welcome to Mental Health and Motivational Mondays. This is your small dose motivator Tam Talk, here to bring you a small dose of motivation to get your week started. So on today's episode, I want to focus on playing to our strength or playing to your strength. So what exactly does that mean? Oftentimes we tend to downplay our strengths because, again, we're so consumed with what society or how society state that we should play a particular role, especially as it comes to our career paths and even in relationships. We often downplay our strengths because we're so focused on trying to build up or develop our weakness. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yes, we do have strengths and we also have weaknesses. And it's not just a particular person. Everybody has that, what I would call the balance. You know, we have our strengths, but we also have our weaknesses. And sometimes, and oftentimes more than that, we tend to focus on developing our weaknesses while neglecting our strengths. And here's the thing, our strengths are needed. Again, our strengths are needed. Though it may not be celebrated as another individual's strength is celebrated, our strengths are needed. Our giftings are needed. A prime example of that, I am a divorced individual. I am also a parent. And so it definitely comes across in our co-parenting, right? And there's nothing bad there. We both, or the parents that are involved, we are well aware of our strengths. We're also well aware of our weaknesses. However, we don't allow our weaknesses to outshine the strengths that we have. We each play an important role. We each provide a particular strength to the raising of our children, right? And so if we're not careful, and again, if we're not careful, not just me, but the other parents that are involved, if we're not careful, society will come in, and aka the devil, and try to dictate how each of our roles should appear and how we should play to those roles. And then if we are not careful as co-parents, we may tend to focus more on our weaknesses and downplay our strengths. Luckily, we're not like that. We're strong-minded in a sense. But that same scenario can play out into your career path where you're on a team or a project team, right? And again, each of you are bringing strengths to the team. However, another individual's strength may perhaps be being celebrated and yours may be downplayed. However, that doesn't mean that you don't have any strengths. And again, sometimes we tend to get busy focusing on our weaknesses because we want to be celebrated, or we want to resemble the employee or the team member who's being celebrated. And we shouldn't do that, right? And again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't develop or work on our weaknesses as we should, but don't let that be the main focus, because we each have strengths. We each bring something to the table. And also, and it goes back to the whole thing about seasons, knowing our seasons. And if you were selected to be on a team, especially when it comes to a work project, then obviously your gifting or your strength is needed, right? In order for this project to become successful or for it to turn out or reach the goals, right? For the actual or the end goal for that particular project. So we each have a strength. Again, some of those are celebrated outwardly or more outwardly, whereas ours may be downplayed. Here's the thing. There's this thing, a statement that I would always say is, I am the behind the scenes leader, right? I don't have to be out front. I don't have to be in the public's eye, right? To be acknowledged. Well, in my case, it's like, I want to be acknowledged. Yes, we can celebrate the extrovert, but also keep in mind, celebrate the behind the scene team, because if it weren't for the behind the scene team, the person who's in the spotlight or the goal that we're accomplishing would not have been accomplished without, again, the behind the scene team's strength. So I want to encourage you, again, not to become discouraged if your strength is not being celebrated outwardly or is not being acknowledged. You know, and again, I repeat, you know what you bring to the table. And we each have a strength and we also have a weakness. And again, don't downplay your strength to develop your weakness. There's a difference between doing that and being humble. Again, don't settle on your strength because you're so focused on your weaknesses, right? Sometimes, and again, more times than not, the weakness that you're probably working on is a form of comparison. You're trying to compare yourself to the individual that's being celebrated outwardly or being acknowledged outwardly. And that may not be your gifting. And the thing is, you just want to be acknowledged and you just want to be celebrated. And so this will require you speaking up, bringing to the attention of those perhaps in leadership that, hey, I bring something to the table as well. My strength may not look like that individual's strength, but I do bring something to the table. Hence, this is why you hire me. Hence, this is why I am on this group project. Hence, this is why I am here. My strength is important to the end goal. So you have to say that to yourself. And again, you may not have to be as forceful as I stated it, but you have to be confident and assertive in your strength. This is what I bring to the table, right? This is what I bring to the table. And another thing, if you don't know what your strengths are or what you're bringing to the table, perhaps you need to take a moment of reflection, perhaps review or reflect on some past scenarios. Again, whether that be in a career path, whether that be on a team, a project, or whether that be in your personal life. Reflect on different moments in your life where you felt like your strength was acknowledged or that your strength was important, right? For me, my strength is I am a problem solver. And so I'm also one who will focus on providing inner substance. And when I mean inner substance, like the characteristics, right? Not the external, what it appears to be, but I'm more of making sure you as a person or as an employee or an individual that your inner workings are working, right? I will acknowledge that I am a problem solver. If you have a problem, I am the person, because I am a thinker, I will help you develop a solution to solve your problem, right? So those are my strengths. Are my strengths needed all the time? No, but they are needed. Many won't say that, especially those who are being celebrated outwardly. Here's why: because if they had to come to you, one, to acknowledge that they needed your assistance, or to just even ask you for assistance, that is a reflection of their weakness or insecurity, or society would say that would be the cowardly move. And that's actually a strength, because as someone who is being celebrated outwardly, they took the moment to reflect and acknowledge that, hey, they need assistance, or they wouldn't be where they were or where they are without your strength. So don't downplay your strengths to try to focus so much on your weaknesses. Work on your weaknesses, but don't forget that you also have strengths. This is how you develop confidence. This is how you soar. This is how you pursue your goals with confidence. So play to your strengths. So that's all I have for this week. And as always, don't worry, be happy, joyful, and peaceful. Until the next time, toodles.